Coming up, Hoosiers taking to the skies for the Thanksgiving holiday. There are signs that air travel is coming back. Plus, could a new transatlantic flight London to Indy happen? Airport Executive Director Mario Rodriguez is here with some answers. And still more life sciences companies setting up shop in the Fishers Life Science and Innovation Park. I'll talk with Fishers Mayor Scott Fadness about a strategy that is coming to life and additional investment in the pipeline. Plus,
gobble, gobble. Did you know Indiana is the 4th largest producer of turkey in the country? I'll have more from Little by Little Farm coming up.
Details on those stories and much more ahead on this edition of Inside Indiana Business. Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gerry Dick. Well, travel over the Thanksgiving holiday period is expected to return to levels not seen since before the COVID-19 pandemic. Indianapolis International Airport reports passenger traffic increased significantly in the third quarter of the year, with more than 2 million passengers traveling through the airport from July through September. For more now on the holiday travel outlook and the possibility of a high-profile transatlantic flight, pleased to welcome back to the show Airport Authority Executive Director Mario Rodriguez. Mario, as always, great to have you on the show.
Gary, it's a pleasure to be with you.
Hey, before we get into some of these numbers, which show that traffic beginning to get back to a sense of normalcy, a report out this week, our partners at IBJ first to report it locally, that British Airways is looking to slot some flights from Heathrow in London to Indianapolis. Anything to that? I mean, is that anything more? I know you and others.
On British Airways side, it's very, very speculative. Now, the city, state, and the airport are working very hard to reestablish international air service, but it will take some time because things have changed. Mm-hmm. Right now, our industry is evolving and is transforming. For example, where we had pre-pandemic, we had 45% of our travelers were business travelers. The last time I checked, it was 22%. And for some of these international flights, it's incredibly important to have a very, very robust business traveler component to actually make it profitable. Yeah. So it'll take some time. We are working on it, and we're working feverishly to get it, but I don't want to get anybody's hope ups that it's going to happen tomorrow.
Okay, good. We'll keep an eye on that. As far as traffic, and I mentioned, obviously the pandemic has been so devastating for many industries, and certainly including the airlines. But traffic is beginning to come back. The numbers released this week show some pretty good traffic there, and you're almost back to 2019 levels.
Oh yeah, but the traffic is coming back incredibly well. But remember, most of the traffic right now is leisure travel. There's been a strong pent up demand for leisure, and you could see some of the destinations and the over 50 nonstop destinations that we have. A lot of them are to sun and fun areas like Palm Springs, Key West, that's coming up just in the near future. So you could see where it's heading. Now, as business comes back online and business travelers start coming back online, you're going to see more and more business destinations.
Yeah, and that whole the change in the business traveler and business travel, that's really going to reshape, in your view, I know, the industry and how we travel.
Oh, my hypothesis is that COVID obviously has been an incredible tragedy, but what it did to business is that it compressed time. Mm-hmm. So 5 years ended up as 1 year. So business has evolved, has used different techniques, virtual meetings. There is a need for business travel, but there's going to be less business travel going into the future. And that is a call to arms for the legacy carriers, United, Delta, and American, that depend on the business traveler for their profitability.
Yeah, mentioned the increase, the return of travelers to Indianapolis International Airport. Thought it was also interesting. You released some numbers this week that show that Indianapolis International has been outperforming peer airports in Milwaukee, in Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, some of those other markets for a number of months now.
Oh, we've been looking very carefully at how things changed. We weren't, and the team we have over here is fantastic, and the community is fantastic. The community is strong financially. That's one of the components. The team over here understood early on in the pandemic that this was going to be transformative. We weren't going to go back to normal. So we started looking at different ultra low-cost carriers to bring them in, like Sun Country, Allegiant, bringing more destinations from Allegiant. You know, the type of airlines that leisure travelers like to use because they're very economical.
Yeah. Hey, before we go, Mario, I do want to offer some congratulations. You recently were awarded from Airports Council International the North America Excellence in Visionary Leadership Award. It's the highest award they hand out to an active airport director. It's quite an honor.
Oh, thank you very much, Gary. It was a great honor and a great surprise to me. So I'm still giddy about it.
Good. Well, Indianapolis International, of course, North America's top airport, many years now in the running. Mario Rodriguez, as always, thanks for being on the show. We'll, I know, check back at the end of the year and see how travel's looking for next year as well.
Thank you, Gary.
All right. Well, 2008 was a big year for projects in Indianapolis. Both the new airport terminal and Lucas Oil Stadium opened in 2008. One of the key figures behind bringing the stadium to reality, Fred Glass. He's my guest on this week's Business and Beyond podcast. Fred grew up in the back of his dad's Skid Row Tavern in downtown Indianapolis. He eventually earned a law degree from Indiana University, went on to serve as athletic director at his alma mater for 11 years. During that time, he got a big no when he asked former classmate Mark Cuban to consider a gift for renovating Assembly Hall, but a big yes for another idea.
He's like, man, I don't give money for buildings. I want to help you develop kids that I want to hire someday. So I went and pitched Mark Cuban on basically what ended up becoming the Cuban Center for Media and Technology. And I get literally to my third point, and he puts his hand up as if to tell me to be quiet. And so I was quiet. And he said, that's something I could get behind. I'll give you $5 million to start.
More great stories, a lot of great stories with former IU Athletics Director Fred Glass. On the next Business and Beyond podcast, to check it out, just go to InsideIndianaBusiness.com and click on the subscribe tab. Well, could the next Midwest hub for life sciences innovation be located in Hamilton County? Fishers is building a strong portfolio to make that claim. Details when we come back with Fishers Mayor Scott Fadness. It's time to go inside innovation, brought to you by Allegiant, pioneering safety. Well, over the past 12 to 18 months, Fishers says has announced nearly $500 million in new investment from healthcare-focused companies. The Fishers Life Science and Innovation Park was established just a few short months ago in an effort to attract high-wage, next-generation life sciences jobs to the city, and that appears to be happening in a big way. And I'm pleased to welcome to the show Fishers Mayor Scott Fadness with more on why he feels the city is becoming the epicenter of life sciences in the Midwest. And Mayor, is always welcome to the program.
Thanks, Gary. Very glad to be here.
Yeah, big numbers. I mean, if you look, approaching $500 million over 18 months, 750 plus jobs, high-paying jobs in these life sciences jobs. Give us a rundown. List Bio among the latest. Jennison also announcing a big investment there in Fishers. It's really been a lot of momentum just here in the last couple of months.
Yeah, what's really exciting about it, too, a lot of those you listed are foreign direct investments. So you have Stevanato Group, an Italian firm investing over $140 million. List, parent company, a South Korean firm, investing $125 million. Jennison doubling down, investing $40 million. You start to add all of these up, the momentum is really great. And you mentioned the salaries. I mean, the average salaries of all of these are right around $80,000 a year. So this is right where we want to be in terms of the kind of innovation industry, good paying jobs. We're really excited about the momentum we're building.
You were making a bet ahead on the Fishers Life Science and Innovation Park that you could do it. You could attract these companies. That's obviously happened. You've about filled the park.
Yeah, we took a big bet. We bought 70 acres, nearly $16 million investment, hoping and believing in the vision that we could create this. And out of that 75 acres, we only have 8 acres left, and this is within a matter of 120 days.
What's attracting? Mayor, what's attracting these investments to Fishers? Certainly Indiana in general, central Indiana specifically, a life science magnet, really a lot of assets here, certainly benefiting from that. But you've also created a brand up there in Fishers when it comes to innovation and entrepreneurship.
Well, I think it's a couple things. One, on the macro level, there's a lot of money moving into the life science industry right now, so they're cash flush and they're looking to invest, particularly in the United States. Two, we have a long history in central Indiana of making things as well as a life science industry. If we can sell that, and then we can be speed to market. So by doing things like buying land, positioning yourself to be successful, answering the call when it comes, and working those networks, I really believe central Indiana can dominate in this particular industry sector. And I'm hopeful that not only Fishers, but all of central Indiana really doubles down on this strategy.
It's all, as you know, it's all about talent and the talent to fill these jobs. Obviously, there's a level of confidence on the part of these companies in moving to Fishers that they can get it there. What's your take on the talent equation right now and how Fishers and central Indiana more broadly are set up to deal with it?
I think we're positioned well. Like I said, we've got a rich history of people that have worked in the life sciences. We also have a rich history of people that understand advanced manufacturing. We can tell that story and tell it well. And then I believe once you get 2 or 3 of these firms here, it affirms to the market that this is a legitimate place to try to do business, and it will continue to develop and grow in that regard. Plus, I think we have an untapped potential in Purdue University, IU, Ball State. These universities really do have a pipeline of individuals that fit this industry very, very well. We just have to perfect the delivery of that story when we're sitting across the table from people that might be interested in locating here in central Indiana.
As I mentioned earlier, you've been very intentional about branding Fishers as an innovation entrepreneurship hub, if you will, attracting IT, tech-related companies. Do you sense that the branding messaging may shift a bit to the life sciences in Fishers?
Yeah, I think it diversifies. Certainly, they are connected. I mean, our origins of some of these deals, like List, came from Launch Fishers, believe it or not. There was a connection there with Monon BioVentures and Scioto. So they're all interconnected. I think it's this innovation-driven economy, I believe, I think they're connected in some way, but I do think they'll diversify a little bit. We're not just going to be known for tech, but I think we're going to also be known for life sciences. And I'm 100% okay and excited about the fact that we can tout both of those opportunities.
All right, life sciences momentum in a big way in Fishers. Mayor Scott Fadness, as always, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Gary.
All right. Well, forget the frozen turkey in the grocery store. Why not go wild, organic, and get one from a family-owned business in Boone County? Our Mary Rachel Redmond takes us to Little by Little in this week's Around Indiana. Here's what's making news now around Indiana. Well, with less than a week to go before Thanksgiving, it is safe to say thousands of Hoosiers are already seeing visions of creamy mashed potatoes, gravy, and that perfect piece of pumpkin pie. But don't forget the star of the show, the turkey. In fact, you may be surprised to know just how vital Indiana is to the production of the Thanksgiving bird to dinner tables nationwide. Around Indiana reporter Mary Rachel Redmond has more from Little by Little Farm in Zionsville.
The 5th largest pork producer in the country. Not exactly a surprise there for most. And of course, there's always Indiana corn. The Hoosier crop also sits at the number 5 spot in the country. There's turkey. Indiana happens to be a major player in the production of Thanksgiving's official bird. In fact, just this week at the White House, President Biden pardoned 2 Hoosier turkeys from Jasper. But not all turkey tracks go south. Case in point, Little by Little Farm in Zionsville.
We started out with 3 goats and 12 chickens, and little by little,
they grew. So how exactly did Robert Pinder, whose day job is spent as a PhD credentialed director at Roche Diagnostics, and his wife Stephanie find themselves in the turkey business?
We were going at the time every Thanksgiving to my wife's aunt's house. One year she said, you guys should try raising a turkey. At the time we had chickens, and I said, okay, we'll give it a try. Why not? And we did a blind taste test. We had a store-bought turkey, and then this turkey of ours, carved it up, put it on the table, and everybody loved our turkey. And then we said, okay, that's it. We gotta start raising turkeys. And
that they did. In 2005, it began with just 3 turkeys. Now?
We doubled up this year. We ended up with 243, and it's still not enough. We sold out all of our turkeys about 2 weeks ago. And every day we're probably getting 5-10 calls asking, hey, do you have any turkeys?
Those look like some big birds.
They are.
So let's go ahead and let's go meet these.
Okay, let's do that.
These big suckers. And if I'm being honest, folks, never ever in my wildest dreams did I think I'd ever encounter over 200 turkeys. But Robert let me in on a little secret.
Turkeys are dumb. Turkeys are really dumb.
White, broad-breasted turkeys.
Yep.
And you have over 200.
Yep, 240.
And they're all accounted for. So for folks that obviously are missing out, most likely this year, when can they start to sign up for 2022?
We start taking orders in August.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I'd love to be able to have this to be my full-time passion, my full-time job type of thing. Continue growing, maybe expand a few more acres, increase production.
Mary Rachel Redman, Inside Indiana Business.
Also making headlines around Indiana, Cunningham Restaurant Group has opened a new restaurant at The Landing, Fort Wayne's new downtown mixed-use district. Marquee at The Landing is Cunningham's first venture into Fort Wayne. The Indianapolis-based hospitality company says the upscale urban bar and restaurant, a new concept for the company. That restaurant will be led by Fort Wayne natives executive chef Edwin Mateo and general manager Matthew Brown. Marquee at The Landing is Cunningham's 36th location in Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio. The Pantheon, an innovation and entrepreneurial center, has cut the ribbon for a new IT services company. The business incubator says Red Obs Technology is the first startup to launch after utilizing the Vincennes business resources and guidance it offers. The company was founded by Mike Folsom, a former Army National Guardsman who had worked as an IT consultant for other companies for many years. Indiana sportsbooks one step closer to busting the $500 million mark for monthly sports betting. The Indiana Gaming Commission says bettors placed more than $460 million in wagers in October, a new one-month high. That previous high, $355 million in bets in September. Well, Gerry, land of steel mills, home of the Jackson 5, and now the world's largest gourmet popcorn company. We'll get the recipe for the success behind Popcorn World. That's coming up next. Stay with us. Let's go to Northwest Indiana now. Popcorn World bills itself as the world's largest gourmet popcorn shop with more than, get this, 480 recipes for sweet, salty, and savory flavors. Everything from traditional caramel to cheese to dill pickles, crab legs, hot wings as well. Popcorn World is a rebrand from what used to be Popcorn Haven, which opened back in 2008. And I'm pleased to welcome to the show the owner of the company, LeBaron Burton Sr., with more on expansion plans. And LeBaron, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I mentioned some of those flavors. That's unbelievable. 480 flavors. That's why you bill yourself as the largest gourmet popcorn shop in the world. What's the craziest flavor you have when it comes to popcorn?
I would have to say crab leg. Crab leg always gets everyone's attention. It's a flavor that no one can ever believe. So I always lead in with the crab leg when people come into the store.
Yeah, that is a great story. Well, talk about your story of ownership, because this company was originally founded by two of your best buddies from fourth grade, right? Who founded the company, and you became part of it a bit later.
Yeah, I had two buddies that they're identical twins, and we met in the fourth grade, actually, from fighting. I had to fight. I fought one brother, and the other brother, you had to fight both of them. And our parents found out, and we just became best friends from there. And they started the popcorn shop in 2008. The two of them, one was living in Maryville, and the other was living in Cartersville, Georgia. And they started the brand. I built their first website for the brand, and things progressed. And they just called me up one day and said, "Hey, you know what? If we've made $1 million and you haven't made $1 billion yet, you need to come on board with us."
Yeah, and
that's what I did.
You did just that, owned the company, and are now growing it. So you've got the store there in Gerry. You're adding licensees and others. Talk about your plans, your expansion plans for Popcorn World.
So one of the things that I'm doing now is getting licensees so that we can go national. Because our online presence, last year we did an $80,000 day. We literally had an order every 3 minutes for about 24 hours.
Wow.
And in order for me, I learned really fast that we need more kitchens to do that. So logistically, we decided that, hey, I'm going to get licensees in the major markets. So that's what we're looking to do now, partner licensees. And I'm looking to grow my own kernel also. Just from having some headaches and supply and demand in the supply chain, I just feel more comfortable if I was able to supply my own kernel.
Yeah, and you also are looking at perhaps a chip brand that's very familiar in Northwest Indiana, Peerless. You're looking at maybe even trying to acquire that.
Yes. Peerless chips is a very it's dear to the heart of Northwest Indiana. It's a brand that's been out, I think, since the 20s, and it was a very great potato chip, and it just seems like a match made in heaven. I need the space for Popcorn World, and I have the flavors, I have the recipes. I could probably extend that brand pretty far. So I'm looking to make that happen. I'll probably bring in some investors, things of that nature, and revive that brand because it has a large following on Facebook.
Will be interesting to watch Popcorn World grow from Northwest Indiana, I should say, around the globe potentially. LeBaron Burton Sr., the owner, the operator of Popcorn World. Been great talking with you. We're going to be following the story.
Definitely. Thank you. It's great talking to you, and thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Well, in our next half hour, the story behind how a dozen moms, 31 babies, 500 volunteers made a big move to Riley Hospital for Children. Well, Riley Hospital for Children at IU Health is now home to the largest newborn intensive care unit in the state. The Indianapolis hospital opened its new maternity tower just days ago. Business of Health reporter Kylie Valletta has more. Kylie.
Thank you, Gary. IU Health Methodist Hospital relocated its labor and delivery department and NICU and moved mothers and their babies to Riley Hospital in the new maternity tower. The health system says it's the start of a new chapter in downtown Indy because mothers and babies can now be cared for under the same roof, even the most complex cases. And joining me now to tell us more about the new maternity tower is Gil Perry, president of Riley Children's Health. Hi, Gil. Welcome to the show.
Kylie, thank you for having me.
All right, this new maternity tower is 116 beds. Also, as we said, the biggest NICU in the state now. Talk about a key focus of keeping the mothers and the babies together.
Yeah, IU Health really identified the opportunity to put together a one-stop service where moms and babies could stay together throughout the whole continuum of care. The idea of keeping mom and baby together is important because we know that families heal together. And so traditionally, Methodist had the birthing center in a very high-level NICU, and now Riley Children's, the maternity tower, will have a one-stop service for all moms and babies, regardless of what their needs might be. So everything from the healthy baby all the way to the most complex will be able to be taken care of all under one roof.
And I understand the Methodist NICU, for instance, didn't have surgical for complex cases, so now all of that in one place. I think people typically associate Riley with babies and children. They don't also think about adult patients. So can you explain how this tower will also be able to care for the mother?
Yeah, at Riley Children's Health, we focus on the child, but we know that the health of the child starts during the pregnancy. And our ability to impact the pregnancy positively early on is really important for the child's health. And so at Riley, at the maternity tower, we will now have all the expertise that a healthy pregnancy, all the way to the most complex, might need, all under one roof. So everything that mom needs will be here at Riley Children's Health related to her pregnancy. We'll have an OB emergency department. So during the pregnancy period, if there's any needs related to mom, she could come to the Riley to Maternity Tower OB emergency department, as well as labor and delivery, maternal fetal medicine experts, including interventionalists who can intervene early if necessary, as well as an OB ICU that's dedicated to mom should she get to the situation where she might need intensive care. So everything from the healthy mom and healthy baby all the way to the most complex will be able to take care of here.
And another big focus for this project is Indiana's high infant mortality rate. Explain how Riley is hoping this new tower can really help impact that, maybe move the needle on Indiana's infant mortality rate.
Yeah, we are so proud of the tower that we've been able to put together. It's state-of-the-art, has all the technology and space and expertise that a mom and baby and family need. We're most passionate about making an impact on infant and maternal mortality. For infant mortality as a state, we have improved in the state of Indiana, but we have a ways to go. There are some zip codes and neighborhoods that don't fare as well as others throughout the state of Indiana. Just like most states, we have to really focus on identifying what are the social and healthcare barriers to really helping them improve their infant mortality. We're going to do this as a community. Riley Children's will partner with the Department of Health and other providers throughout the state that can help impact infant mortality. And so we have a whole focus on making sure we at IU Health and Riley make a difference as the state. Maternal mortality has not had as significant of an improvement in the state of Indiana. We know that 1/3 of the counties throughout the state of Indiana do not have OB wards or labor and delivery centers. And so they also oftentimes have similar barriers to care, access to care or preventive services. So we know that we have some gaps to close as a state, and Riley Children's as well as IU Health will work collectively with our partners to help close those gaps. We know that there is a lot of focus on this. The Department of Health actually just yesterday hosted a Labor of Love Summit where everybody in that summit was really focused on what can they do for mother and baby. And so we're very confident that together as a community we can make a difference.
Really hope create some momentum there. You also focus on the experience for the mom and the baby in this new tower. Can you talk a little bit about some of those features?
Yes, the tower was very thoughtfully designed, including input from moms and families to really determine what did they need throughout the care that they received at Riley. And so we have a very comfortable environment. It very much looks like a hotel. As a matter of fact, one of our first mothers said that she was getting ready to get discharged in a couple days, but she wanted to stay a couple months. And so we created an environment where it felt very comfortable for moms. All of the private rooms are going to be available for parents and for patients to have the privacy that they need to heal and to engage with our expert care team. We also have the wraparound services that are really important to create a good experience. We actually created a space where there is a salon, a hydrotherapy massage table, and there's a lot of different things that we're going to bring to mom and family to enable them to be comfortable while they're at the Riley Maternity Tower.
All right. Well, congratulations on completing the project, Gil. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you very much, Kylie.
And Gerry, back to you.
All right, Kylie, thank you. Well, this week, Indiana Commissioner for Higher Education Teresa Lubbers announced that she will step down after the 2022 legislative session. Lubbers has served in the role for more than 12 years and is currently the longest-serving higher education executive officer in the country. Lubbers was chosen by the 14-member commission in 2009 after representing District 30 in the Indiana Senate for 17 years. Among her numerous accomplishments, overseeing the implementation of Indiana's higher education strategic plans, she's also been a leader in moving the state toward its goal of at least 60% of Hoosiers with education and training beyond high school. To Delaware County now, where kindergartners attending Daleville schools are sowing the fruits and vegetables of their labor through a hands-on program teaching them valuable lessons about growing and eating healthy food.
I plant them and I put some water in them and I gave them water every day. And seeds need oil and water and sunlight and rain.
Daleville Community Schools using a $50,000 farm-to-school grant from the U.S. Department of Agriculture to teach these young students how to plant, grow, and harvest fruits and vegetables. Not only are the kids growing healthy food, they're also eating it in the school cafeteria. And for more on the kindergarten program, I'm pleased to be joined by Daleville Community School Superintendent Greg Roach. And Greg, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
This is really a fascinating initiative, I think. And while this grant is new, this is really an extension of your outdoor learning environment that you've had there in the school system for some time.
Yes, it is. We have an extensive area outside called our Outdoor Learning Lab that contains over 100 apple trees in it as part of that area. And this grant has just enabled us to capitalize on what we already have, to add and extend it to our kindergartners to get them involved in the program.
Yeah, I know a former principal there took the lead on writing this grant proposal, a very competitive process, $50,000 from the USDA. Talk about what it is enabling now you to do and to really connect with these young students.
Well, we started with students just planting their own vegetables here in the fall, and just watching those vegetables grow and progress along. The grant also enabled us to install an 80 by 20 greenhouse that we can utilize throughout the winter and early spring to start plants as we go through. We were also able to hire a horticulturist who oversees the entire program and also pushes into the kindergarten classroom and provides lessons on growing plants and proper techniques to make sure they thrive.
Yeah, I know applesauce is a specialty up there too as well, right? You've got essentially an apple orchard where the apples are grown and then it turns into applesauce.
Yes, this fall we had the opportunity to send our elementary students out to the orchard and collect several bushels of apples. We brought those back into our elementary cafeteria, and our cooks in our kitchen made applesauce, and we had a lot of fun distributing that back out to our students during lunch and telling them that those apples were grown right out in our backyard in our outdoor learning lab.
Yeah, talk about, in your view, Greg, what you see as the outcomes, the impacts that this program is having. There's a lot of talk, of course, about experiential learning at all levels of education. This would seem to be that and even more when it comes to the impact it's having on these very young students.
Yes, we really want our students to learn how to grow their own food. We feel like that will enable them to make healthy choices, and all of our food is grown organically, so we're teaching them a lesson there to grow healthy organic food. We want them to understand that it's cheaper and readily accessible in our time right now of supply and demand issues. It's always out in their garden if they've properly raised the food. And then also just to have an enjoyable lifelong activity that they can do throughout the rest of their lives, and maybe even take it home to their family and start a garden themselves if they don't already have one.
Yeah. Are you learning any lessons from other programs elsewhere, or do you find that this program is rather unique here in Indiana?
It's really rather unique in Indiana what we're doing with what we have already had established with the Outdoor Learning Lab. But like I said earlier, it's just a great way to take what we already had and enhance that and grow it and just bring it down to our kindergartners who start at a very young age, and then with an ultimate goal of having this be a K-12 program.
Yeah, and you talk about that ultimate goal. You'd like to make this really a sustainable program for the long term.
Oh, absolutely. We have already had some sales of trees that we had in our greenhouse to raise some funds to help sustain past this one-year grant cycle. We'll plant seeds next year for fruits and vegetables and sell those starts for people who are planting their gardens in the spring. We'll start that in late winter to get those seeds going. And then we'll also apply for the USDA Farm School Grant again to try to get some more funding to sustain the program.
An innovative Farm to School grant is really fueling an innovative program at Daleville Community Schools in Delaware County. Greg Roach, the superintendent there. Thanks very much. Good luck going forward. Well, maybe we'll come back in a number of months and do an update. Fascinating story.
Thank you. That'd be great. We'd love to have you out in the spring when our plants are growing and you can see what the greenhouse looks like fully going and in bloom.
All right. Very good. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Well, Greyhounds on the run on the south side of Marion County. Next, we catch up with the state of athletics at the University of Indianapolis. Well, he succeeded a legend in the middle of the pandemic. Other than that, it's been business as usual for the University of Indianapolis' new Vice President of Intercollegiate Athletics. Bill Benner has more in this week's Inside Indiana Sports. Bill.
And the good news is that new VP, Scott Young, is as familiar with UIndy and Greyhound athletics as anyone possibly could be, having graduated from the Southside Institution in 1999 and then remained there as an assistant coach, athletic trainer, and director of compliance before succeeding that legend, Dr. Sue Willey, last fall. We welcome Scott to the program. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Bill.
You've been taking over a program, you've been part of a program that's really been a model for Division II success. You've led the Great Lakes Valley Conference and the All Sports standings for 8 consecutive years. You have nationally ranked soccer, swimming teams. What's kind of the thread that runs through that all, Scott?
Well, Bill, I think it's really the coaches that we have here at UIndy. They're really focused on the mission of the university, bringing in high quality people that are great students, great individuals, and then tremendous student athletes. So I think it's the combination of the coaching staff, the administration, and just the quality recruiting and bringing in the student athletes that meet the mission of the university. Like I mentioned, is that I really focus on the word win within our department, and that's kind of our motto as a group, is that we want our student athletes to win as students, as people, and as athletes. So it's all about winning here at the University of Indianapolis.
And more than just lip service, the proof is in the outcomes. UIndy has been in the top 10 Division II academic rankings for a number of years.
Yeah, we traditionally have all of our programs with above a 3.0 GPA, and I think that's you give the credit to the student athletes, our academic advisors, our coaches. There's really a focus on academics and the academic success, and the overall college experience. And it's not just winning on the court or on the field or in the pool. It's winning in the classroom and winning with our community service and all the positive things that we do besides just being an athlete.
Scott, we mentioned the legend, Dr. Sue Willey, in the opening, and succeeding. You worked for Sue for all those years. She was director of athletics. What have you taken from her leadership into your role now as VP of athletics?
You know, Sue was just a tremendous mentor and just really brought the Division II philosophy, and that it's more than just being an athlete, that you need to be a high quality student. You need to focus on being a good person. You're always representing the institution. I think I've just taken that from Sue, and that's really been the philosophy at UIndy, and we've just continued that forward. And as long as we have good coaches in place and good student athletes here, we'll be able to continue to have all of that success in all aspects of the collegiate experience.
Scott, I'm intrigued. You've just recently announced a club sports initiative that will involve, students, not just student athletes, but students in general at UIndy. Talk about what that will entail.
Well, when we started talking about different opportunities here at UIndy and ways that we could bring more students into our department and more students to the university, and that recruitment and then also retention piece, we felt like club sports would be a great avenue. We found that we have a lot of individuals that want the collegiate athletic experience, but not quite ready for that full commitment to NCAA Division II athletics. So we're trying to find that home between intramurals and Division II athletics, for that place for those individuals that want high level competition, but just not quite at the intensity of Division II athletics. And we found some different sports that are going to provide those opportunities, and it's going to be under athletics. And I think they'll get the experience of being an athlete here, a student athlete here at the University of Indianapolis, and just really have that quality experience that our current student athletes have.
And some of those sports will be, for example?
We have men's and women's tennis, men's and women's powerlifting. We're going to have men's and women's bowling, cheerleading and dance, ultimate frisbee, water polo. They're currently on campus, and we're adding those kind of into our department going forward.
I love that, just the thought of that. For people like me who weren't elite athletes during the college experience. Okay, quickly as we wrap up, Paul Corsaro, our Roncalli guy, UIndy guy, now the men's basketball coach. Men's basketball is underway, and I know you look forward to a successful season on the hardwood.
Coach Corsaro, Paul, has done a great job coming into UIndy, has really just taken forward the program that Stan Gerard had built for many, many years. And when he left UIndy, he actually made the decision to go to Southern Indiana the day that I was announced as the next director of athletics here at UIndy. So it was quite a celebration for about 5 minutes into work on finding our next head men's basketball coach. It's just great to have somebody that's an alum and so connected to the South Side and the city, leading our program. He's a great coach, a great person, has tremendous student athletes, and really buys into the mission of UIndy and the quality students, the quality people, and just being highly successful on the court.
Well, Scott, we appreciate you coming on the program. Continued success at UIndy, and again, it's a model for Division II athletics, and we wish you all the best going forward. Thanks.
Thanks for having me on today.
You're welcome. And Gerry, back to you.
All right, Bill, thank you. Well, like Scott Young, Fred Glass is also very familiar with the inner workings of intercollegiate athletics. The former director of athletics at Indiana University is my guest this week on the Business and Beyond podcast. Now, Glass has written a book about his journey from growing up in the back of his dad's Skid Row Tavern to earning a law degree at IU, to serving in politics, and eventually winding up back at his alma mater, leading the athletics department during the Tom Crean, Kevin Wilson, and Archie Miller eras.
The hardest part of the job was making changes with coaches, and the hardest coaches to make changes with are your premier coaches. I mean, we were all about 24 sports, one team, but let's face it, football and the men's basketball make the world go around. Those were hard days. My wife would tease me because when I was going through that, whether it was Bill Lynch or Kevin Wilson or Tom Crean, I'd lose about 15 pounds and just be kind of sick about it, because it's a really odd dynamic, Gerry. You pour your blood, sweat, and tears in these guys. You want them to succeed, and you have deep personal conversations with them, because a lot of times the AD is the only person who really tells them the truth, or at least the truth as you perceive it, because you tend to get surrounded by sycophants and so forth. Some of your listeners may have similar situations when they're CEOs of companies or whatever. So I felt the burden heavily that I had to be the one to tell them that what they didn't always want to hear, but to try to make them successful. A, because I wanted them to be successful, and B, their success was my success, right? Nobody wanted them to succeed more than me. But when there comes a time where you have to make a change, they almost unavoidably feel that as a betrayal, right? Like, how could you be in the foxhole with me one minute and then jumping out of the foxhole the next and taking me out? And that's a hard thing, and it was very hard on me, and much harder on them. So don't shed tears for me. But having that happen with those 2 power coaches in 100 days is what got me thinking that maybe I won't be a lifer in this job.
Much more with former IU Athletics Director Fred Glass. Lots of great stories on the next Business and Beyond podcast. To check it out, just go to InsideIndianaBusiness.com and click on the subscribe tab. Next, Indiana's piece of the pie from the infrastructure bill. Find out what our partners at the IBJ have uncovered and where nearly $9 billion could go. What the infrastructure bill will mean for Indiana. Details on plans to keep the Indy Keeps Creating movement going, and a closer look at that big Lafayette Square Mall redevelopment project. Those are just some of the stories our partners at the IBJ are working on for this week's edition. Editor Leslie Weidenbender joins us now with more. Leslie, as always, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Going to get to some of those great stories in a moment, but late in the week, some breaking news that I think both of us found very interesting. Formstack raising a ton of money, really a big raise.
$425 million.
Wow.
It's the biggest fundraise for a tech company in Indiana history, according to TechPoint.
Yeah, that is going to be a story to watch. I know they've got some big expansion and growth plans as well. Let's talk about the paper infrastructure, the infrastructure bill. Everybody's talking about it, a huge number. You're going to break down in the paper what it could mean for Indiana.
Yeah, we're looking at $8.8 billion out of the $1.3 trillion that's going to be spent. And most of that, probably 2/3, is headed to roads and transportation.
Okay.
Most of that money.
Any particular speculation on what roads?
Yeah, the state has not yet formulated a plan, but we expect that there will be spending to widen I-65 and I-70 across their entire lengths in Indiana. That's been a project that's been on the minds of lawmakers and transportation officials for years.
And people who drive those roads, too, to be sure. Another story I'm interested in is the Lafayette Square Mall, this redevelopment project that was announced, I guess, a week plus ago. $200 million, very ambitious. You're going to take a little closer look.
Yeah, Mickey Shuey, our reporter, takes a closer look at Fabio De La Cruz, who is the man behind the project. It's his company, Sohos Capital, that's really putting it together. And I mean, he has already bought a ton of property. He's amassed 300 acres over just the past 3 years and spent some $80 million on it.
Yeah, and if it happens, I mean, I think that can be truly transformational for that area that's needed something for a long time.
Yeah, and he talks, of course, about the mall, and the idea is to call it window to the world, but he's bought several shopping centers in the area, too, so he has much bigger plans than just the mall.
Wow. Another, I think, cool story Dave Lindquist will be reporting on is a $500,000 allocation from the American Rescue Plan Act to keep the Indy Keeps Creating initiative, that arts initiative, to keep that rolling.
Yeah, you know, this started earlier in the year, and I think it was most visible during the NCAA tournament. But I should have said it actually started in 2020 with some 1,500 grants to try to keep artists going, and there's going to be some renewed focus on those. We're looking at visual arts, performance arts, and a neighborhood cultural projects.
Wow. And the arts and culture scene in Indianapolis continues to be something that a lot of people are looking at. How can you continue to keep that vibrancy going?
It's really important as we talk about the fact that workers can choose where they want to live now, and so you've got to create a community where people actually want to be, and then they can work anywhere.
Yep. Lots of great stories coming up in the IBJ this weekend. Leslie Weidenbender, is always great to see you.
Great to see you too. Thank you.
Well, the Indiana Economic Development Corporation partnering with San Francisco-based Startup Genome to study the state's entrepreneurial climate for startups. Startup Genome is a research and policy advisory organization focused on the startup ecosystem. The IEDC says Startup Genome will use a combination of global data sets and survey data to analyze Indiana's business climate for startups and early-stage enterprises. The IEDC says the analysis will help guide state and local leaders on how to best deliver entrepreneurial resources. And I'll be right back after this. Stay with us. Coming up next week, Marian University President Dan Elsner reflects on 20 years leading the university and also looks ahead to what's next. Also, we will take a look at Hard Truth Distilling Company. The pandemic did not slow the distillery down at all. In fact, it continues in growth mode. We will also have a holiday shopping preview around Indiana. Those stories and much more coming up next week. Thanks for joining us this week. I'm Gerry Dick. Go out and make it a successful week.